Good morning to all of you, if I'm still allowed to say that, as we get close to noon over here. It's such a pleasure to see so many of you today, a few familiar faces and others that we hope to get to know over the course of the day. As Seema mentioned in her kickoff this morning, we are starting to do a lot more work, hands-on, closely working with mobile network operators. In certain cases, we aren't talking about those projects because of the commercial sensitivity of those. In other cases, we're very much able to share those, and MTN Uganda has graciously given us permission to do that today. So this is a case study. However, we do hope that quite a lot of what you'll see today will be applicable in your markets as well. Before we get started, I think it's important to mention something about MTN Uganda for those of you who aren't familiar with the company. They launched a product called Mobile Money in 2009, so it's just about 2 years old now. It is an STK format. It's a full e-wallet service and full e-wallet functionality. At launch, they had just a money transfer and an airtime top-up. Today, they also have bill pay, and they've recently just launched school fees, which is quite exciting. There's one nuance that's important to point out, and that's that Uganda does not have a universal ID system. There are 9 different forms of acceptable identification in Uganda, and so the process that they've developed to be in compliance with central bank requirements is a 2-step process whereby they have either a transaction agent or an actual field agent doing the registration, and then in a second phase, that application form goes to the back office where that ID is actually vetted. So what this means is you actually have registration split out from activation. And as you'll see in the research findings, this throws up quite a few challenges, and I know some other people face this in markets as well. The service is growing quite strongly, and it's almost one of the largest mobile money subscribers today, with 1.5 million registered users. So basically, this project was to look at how we could drive more activity on the platform, both in terms of bringing new users on, as well as keeping our existing users much more active. When it came to non-users, there's 4 segments that MTN actually uses in their core business for their GSM marketing strategies. And these are called survivors, trendies, traders, and progressives. And it's basically a socioeconomic classification with a bit of lifestyle characteristics mixed in. So much as the name sounds, survivors is effectively BOP consumers, lower educated, lower income, often rural living. Could be agricultural or could be wage earners. Trendies are youth and recent university graduates. Traders are micro businesses, self-employed, shopkeepers. And progressives are middle income and salaried workers. There was a 5th segment of really high kind of corporates, they call them. We left that out for the purpose of this study. So again, coming back to this theme of customer segmentation, using existing hypotheses as well as looking at customer behavior, it's quite critical to understand exactly what's going on across these different segments. As I mentioned, I wanted to put up this customer journey framework one more time for discussion today. What has been the experience of the MMU team as we've worked across deployments in different countries is that the customer journey appears to be much more complex than any other product that we've typically seen when it comes to telecoms. We think there are sort of 3 core steps that need to happen that are right in the middle of that diagram. Awareness, where the customer has actually heard of mobile money and has some idea of what it does. Understanding, which is a deep level understanding of how mobile money could actually be useful to them. What is the benefit that they could get out of using mobile money? And the third is knowledge, where the customer actually needs to understand how does this concept work. And keeping this framework in mind, what we set out to do was understand where customers had gotten bogged down. So where did we lose customers, and what barrier did they face to signing up for mobile money? Okay, coming to our first finding, which starts off with non-users. And again, keep that framework in mind. With the awareness, MTN Uganda was quite fortunate to find that awareness was incredibly high. It had been created through quite a wide variety of sources, advertisements, friends, relatives, promotional activities. MTN Uganda actually uses a team of field agents that they call DSTs who go out in the neighborhoods explaining to people about mobile money and being able to register them as well. Receiving messages with MTN, which would be SMS or calls, and then MTN mobile money trucks, which were used in rural areas. Did these individuals actually understand what the service is? Absolutely. So through all this information that had been passed around the market, whether formal or informal from word of mouth, people were able to tell us the following. It's fast and it's an easy way of sending and receiving money. It's cheaper compared to the banks. You can save and buy airtime with it, and you can make payments. So this is certainly not true in every market, but in the case of MTN Uganda, if we look at that first box, which was awareness, check. If we look at the second box of understanding, again, another check. Looking more deeply at our non-users, and now again looking across these segments, which approximately goes from lower income on the left side of your screen to higher income on the right side. The survivors said, yep, it's a way of banking money, so it's secure storage for my cash, and I can send and receive. Trendies also understood it, and they appreciated the fast and the speed of it. Traders, services that helps one send money, they're thinking about paying their vendors. And progressives. Now, here's one interesting thing that came out. The higher income consumer immediately put mobile money in the category of banking. Well, what does that mean? It means you get both the positive and the negative associations of that category. So on the positive side, they said, okay, it's a full financial service package. On the negative side, they said, where's the banking hall? Where's the nice features? Where's the branding? And expectations weren't being met. Coming to the third chevron that we saw back on that customer journey framework, which is knowledge. What we found is that most of the non-users were getting bogged down in this area. They did not understand how the concept actually worked. And what they were asking here was not, how does the STK menu work? I can't figure it out. No, what they were actually asking is, what is this concept of digital money? It's very strange. Who does what? What does the agent do? What does the operator do? What do I need to do? Is it secure? So we have two quotes from consumers here. The first one being a survivor. I do not trust it because I do not know how the money will reach the other person. We have another quote from a trader who was in the rural area and said, here in the deep village, not many people know much about it, so they should sensitize us more on how it works. So as a general barrier, we found knowledge to be the dominant one. Now looking to our segments again, we found certain product features to throw up particular problems according to segments. Survivors who are lower educated really had an issue with trust. So they didn't understand how it works, and that means they also didn't trust the service. Additionally, the registration process was a challenge for them given low literacy levels. The trendies who are younger, many of them had not yet acquired an ID, and their principal issue was they just couldn't get themselves registered in an easy way. The traders, who are business people, complained that the poor network coverage would mean they couldn't trust the system. So if the network went down, when they were making a transaction, they said, how will my money get there safely? I'm a business person, my money needs to move when it needs to move, I can't trust this. And now finally coming to our progressives, who I mentioned associated with this product as a bank, effectively did not find it trustworthy enough. And by all accounts, this was the segment that would be most difficult for MTN Uganda to capture effectively. The last point there, you can see they did not find it trustworthy when sending large amounts of money. Agents were located in insecure places. The final finding from the research that I want to share with you is the alternatives to mobile money. But if I can draw your attention to the survivor segment, and remember this segment was the one who was most distrustful and least understanding of the mobile money product. Well, what did they say? Actually, friends and relatives are more reliable and trustworthy than mobile money. They do not charge you fees. You can hold them accountable if money is not sent and received. And it's convenient. There's no queues. You can send anytime, even at night. The point being that agents sometimes may be closed. So what do we learn from this? Well, mobile money non-users and users, as you'll see in the next slide, continue to shop around. They do have other competitive options, and we should not be so quick to assume that mobile money is always the more convenient, more trustworthy, more reliable option, because in some case, they're actually relatively satisfied with their options. So that's one point. The second point is that finding the right way to compete against a customer segment is quite critical, because you can't compete on every attribute well. And if you have a focused target market, figure out what's important to them and compete on that. So what was MTN able to do with this research, and how were they able to implement it back into their core mobile money business for change? Well, we asked our customers what they would like to see and what kind of improvements. Not a very surprising list, as it basically mirrors the complaints that we've presented earlier in this presentation. First, they said, please sensitize us. We need to understand better how this product works, exactly what's the model, so that we can feel more trust around it. Second, make registration process easier, less formal requirements, less form filling, and then shorten that gap between registration and activation. When it comes to agents, quite critically, ensure that they're well trained and assist the customer with good customer care. Ensure they have enough money at all times. Ensure they're in secure locations where one can feel safe when transacting or withdrawing money, and increase the number of agent outlets in the rural areas. Two other points: network downtime, which I think MTN is more or less resolved, but was an issue in times past. And then the product features, of course, transaction limits are always a concern we hear from customers. What is MTN doing or has done in cases? Well, not surprisingly, they've developed an ATL education campaign on the how-to. That hasn't launched yet, but it should be forthcoming quite soon, to give customers a better understanding of how mobile money actually works. They're also working on improving the training and monitoring of DSTs. DSTs are the field agents that go out and register the customers. And they want to make sure that these DSTs have clearer communications to the customers and also can tailor that communications according to the customer segment's concerns. On the agent network side, they have a campaign in progress to improve the agent shop fascia and the merchandising and portray a more secure environment. They also are in the process of retraining many of their agents, but specifically on customer care, not just managing the mobile money product, but actually how to deal with that customer. Improving agent liquidity, they have some plans afoot that will hopefully ease the challenges that they face on that front, and then continuing to expand their footprint, especially in rural areas. Finally, when it comes to registration and activation, they can't actually change the process, but they certainly can change the speed at which it happens. So they're working hard to improve the time lag between those two steps, especially for the rural customers.